A huge gang of violent African teenagers has run wild along the St Kilda foreshore, fighting each other and bashing and robbing beachgoers. Witnesses say there were at least 200 teens, including young women, causing trouble.
On St Kilda's busy foreshore, the group of young women square up to each other before fists and feet fly in every direction. It was a disgraceful level of violence which took place in front of dozens of beachgoers. It was a worrying indication of what was to come.
Unfortunately, last night we've had a large number of youth attend of African appearance who have engaged in antisocial behaviour. They've committed crimes. They've been involved in a number of assaults on the foreshore of St Kilda.
Witnesses estimate the number of African teenagers causing trouble along the foreshore was close to 200. Alex Carter's 16-year-old son was one of the victims. He and a mate were punched repeatedly and robbed.
They'd taken the other youngsters, his phone and his watch, and they even took his shirt. So he left them sort of standing half nude in the street.
Alex's son was too frightened to speak about the ordeal, but has told his dad the offenders knew exactly what they were doing.
These guys are so clever the way they do it that it looks like a couple of teenagers just sort of having a bit of fun. So they're absolute professionals.
A number of witnesses dining in the area say police struggled to cope with the huge volume of angry teens.
The police officers handled it as best as they could. I think they were really outnumbered and they struggled to get a hold on it.
Later in the evening, there was a huge brawl at the McDonald's involving 60 teenagers of African appearance. Chairs were thrown and a window smashed. Police are still unsure as to how many victims they're dealing with and are asking anyone who was targeted by this violent group last night to come forward. They also want the offenders to make themselves known to detectives.
And their behaviour was just totally unacceptable, and I'd call on them to come forward, hand themselves in before we track them down.
Michael Scanlon, 7 News.
Rampaging youths have terrorised tourists during an early morning crime spree in St Kilda. Victims report being robbed and assaulted, and police want to hear from others who were targeted. Michael Scanlon has the details.
Good afternoon. Witnesses have described last night down here on the water at St Kilda as mayhem. There was a huge group of around 200 teenagers of African appearance who were involved in multiple brawls among themselves, but they were also targeting people who were dining down here.
Unfortunately, the behaviour was just totally unacceptable last night, pushing each other around. There was assaults against each other in different groups.
Greg Robinson was one of the many people who saw the shocking behaviour unfolding. He says it was obvious there was tension among the group of teenagers.
There was a lot of wrestling, a lot of punching on, a lot of yelling, clearly a lot of tension going on.
There was also a massive brawl which took place at the McDonald's on Ackland Street across from Luna Park around 3 in the morning. 2 young women were fighting and then their male friends joined in. Windows were shattered and chairs were thrown.
It's just totally disrespectful to the local community and the people who actually want to go down there with their families and enjoy the beachfront.
Mobile phones and wallets were also stolen. Police are still unsure as to how many victims have been affected and are asking anyone who was targeted by this group last night to come forward.